All right, welcome back to the next part of our lesson. We're going to move on to our notes for today, and I'm going to take these notes with you to show you how to set them up in your notebook. So if you've completed the chunk part of your lesson, the new information, and the notebook setup, we should have our table of contents on page 1, page 2, and page 3. And for our notes today, we're going to do those on, these are all my pens, on page 5. And so a couple of things with our notes. I've attached these slides to the assignment in this section, in the choose section, so you can go in and watch the video and think about how taking notes really helps us learn, right? We've already learned that it's science, right? If we're handwriting notes, our brain remembers it better. So what do you think are important things to remember when taking notes? Go ahead and on your own time watch the note-taking video that is in the slides that are posted. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our note sheet. And we use something called Cornell Notes. And I like to abbreviate those as C Notes. And this is a great way, again, there's evidence that supports that setting up your notes this way also helps you learn best, right? You have a system to organize your notes and go back and review them and highlight them and add to them when needed. So we're going to do kind of modified Cornell Notes. And I am going to start by drawing a line, just like in the picture, not in the middle, a little to the left. And I'm going to make sure my line doesn't go all the way down. I'm going to leave a few lines at the bottom of my page. And again, just like in the picture, at the bottom of my page, I'm going to draw a line across. And if you don't have a ruler, you can use something that does have a straight edge, like a book or a notebook, or you could just do your best to draw a straight line. Okay, so our notes are set up similar to what we see in the slides. There's a couple important things we need to include. Whenever we take notes in science, anything we put in our notebook should have the date. And since you're working on your iPad a lot, that should not be hard to find, right? So we know what the date is. It is a B day, it is Wednesday, it is September 16th. And I like to abbreviate it instead of writing it out. You can choose to do whatever you prefer. So 9-16-20. And the next thing we need is a title. And it looks like the slides that we're using today, we're going to come up with a couple of definitions for science and physical science. So I'm just going to title my notes, What is Science? Because that's really what they're all about. And remember, all of our pages are numbered. We're on page 5. Our notes and our vocabulary goes on the odd pages on the right side. And on our even pages on the left side is where we put our practice work and some of our experiments and data that we collect. Now that we've set up our notes, we are going to start to add to them. This small column off on the left that we drew is where we put questions. And then the big section to the right here is where we put the answers to those questions, right? All the notes. And down here on the bottom, at the end, we're going to write a summary. So I'm going to title that Summary. Great. Remember, just pause the video if you need time to catch up. And now I'm going to move to our next slide. And we're going to start writing in our ISN. ISN is an abbreviation for Interactive Science Notebook. So sometimes instead of writing all of that out or notebook out, I'll just say take out your ISN. We've dated and titled our page. And then the directions also tell us to underline new vocabulary terms with colored pencil or highlight. If you don't have a colored pencil or a highlighter, then you can just underline them with your pen or pencil, whatever you're using to write with. So it looks like we're starting out with our notes today with a definition for science. So we've thought a little bit about this. Science really explains everything that's going around us, right? It explains our world, our universe. It helps answer those questions. Why is the sky blue? Why does a basketball bounce? All of those things. Why does a ship float? So all of those questions we can investigate through the process of science and come up with answers based on evidence. So science is knowledge about our natural world and our universe, and it is based on facts. We don't make stuff up in science, right? It's based on facts, and it's learned through experiments and observation. So that's the first part of my notes. I'm going to start over here in the big section with science is knowledge about the natural world and universe that is based on facts, and we learn those facts learned through experiments and observation. So you can see in the slide, I've also underlined those same important words. Science has to be based on facts, and it involves experiments and observing all the things around us, observation. All right, that's our first definition. You can also zoom in and see that we've included, well, I can't zoom in here, a picture of different branches of science. So there's a lot of different types of science. Meteorology, if you want to study the weather. Geology, if you want to study the earth and the rocks and earthquakes and volcanoes. Astronomy, if you want to study space and stars and planets. Chemistry, we're going to do some chemistry this year. That's the study of chemical reactions and how different chemicals interact with each other, physical and chemical reactions. And genetics and heredity is the study of traits. Biology is the study of living things. That's what you'll learn in 7th and 8th grade. Oceanography, the study of the ocean. Physics, we're going to do some physics this year. That's the study of the laws of nature, like force and motion. And ecology is the study of our environments. And there are so many more, hundreds more types of science that aren't even listed here. But this year, we are really focusing on physical science. And that's our second word, physical science. And so what I said, that involves both chemistry and physics. We're going to start with chemistry this year, and then we'll move on to physics. Both of those are types of physical science. And so that is the study of non-living matter and energy and how they interact. So I'm going to move down. I'm going to leave a space or two, and I'm going to write physical science is the study of non-living, things that are not living, non-living matter and energy, and how they interact. Make sure you take your time when you're writing your notes and write slow enough that you can go back and read them and they make sense to you. So physical science is underlined clearly because that's an important vocabulary word, as well as non-living matter and energy, because those connect to our vocabulary word. All right, so that's a pretty great start for our notes. If we zoom in on our picture for physical science, we can see some of this non-living matter that we're going to study. Gases, liquids, right? Water. Water is non-living unless there's little microorganisms floating around in there, or fish. Nuclear reactions, motion, waves, electricity, right? All types of energy, sound, light, so many different things. Levers, forces, chemicals. So many things go into physical energy, and we're going to take a look at a lot of those throughout the year. All right, coming back to our notes, we just have a couple more things to add. So if we remember in our note-taking slide, the C notes, we are missing something off in this small column off on the side. This is where we can come up with our own questions, or sometimes I'll give you the questions that go with the notes. So today it's pretty simple. We just have a definition for science. So what would be a good question that would go with that? What is science, or what is the definition of science? That would be great. Or even, what do you need to do science, right? You're going to collect facts through experiments and observation. Any of those would work. So I'm going to keep it simple and just write, what is science? Question mark. And here with physical science, it's just a definition of physical science. So let's keep it simple. What is physical science? Right, and sometimes if I have a lot of notes, I like to put arrows from my definition over to the information it goes with, just to make sure. And the last thing we have to do, and we're going to do this together today, is our summary down at the bottom. Sometimes it's difficult to come up with a summary. It's just 1 to 2 sentences that sums up the main points that we wrote about. It doesn't have to, you shouldn't copy the whole thing down. 1 to 2 sentences. And this is a really important part of taking notes. It shows us that you're understanding what you're writing down, and you're not just copying down words. And so in 6th grade, sometimes I like to start my summaries out with these notes I learned, right? Or today I learned that science is based on facts. There are many different types of science. The one we're going to study this year is physical science. It could be as simple as that. So let's go ahead and put that down. Today I learned science is based on facts, or evidence is another good word for that. There are many different types of science this year. We will study physical science. Period. See how I have 2 sentences? Capital letter, period. Capital letter, period. 2 sentences. And then the last thing we want to do, if you have highlighters or colored pencil, or you can just use a different pen or pencil, or just use the pencil or whatever writing utensil you're using. I like to go in and just read through them and make sure all my notes make sense. And if I have any new vocabulary words, I like to circle them. Science and physical science. And then you can come up with your own method for highlighting. I like to use a different color than to underline the words that go with our new vocabulary words. So science, we really need to know that that's based on facts, involves experiments and observation. And then physical science is the study of non-living matter and energy. So those are the 2 big things to remember. And that is it for your notes for today. I will take a picture of my completed notes and post it in Schoology. We can go ahead and update our table of contents then, now that we have something on page 5. and I'll also post that in Schoology. Please join our Google Meet or Ask the Teacher hours if you have any questions or you need any additional help.